Inside scoop that we are talking on the Indo-US trade deal as far as India-US interim deal that is set to be signed this week itself. Now, what is being said that India has agreed on agriculture, but there will be no compromise when it comes to GM crops. The agreement is also on 10% basis tariff on Indian goods and blanket tariff on goods. That is not possible. India has told Washington and agreeing that there would be no agreement on dairy, only on processed food items, and one tariff on all forms on automobile that has been agreed upon on expected average tariff on Indian goods, and that is expected to be around 11.5%. So where are we heading? Rishabh, good morning. As far as the Indo-US trade deal is concerned, are we looking at to be signed finally between the two countries this week?
Well, Amita, good morning. Definitely. What we are given to understand that India and US is expected to sign the interim trade deal. Remember, we are talking about the interim trade deal. The first tranche of the bilateral trade deal is still expected to be signed toward the last quarter of this year, and sometime September, October is when we are looking at the first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement being signed. But right now we are talking about the interim trade deal that has been negotiated between the two sides, a hard negotiation from New Delhi and Washington, and there are specifics that we know right now through sources. Sources suggest that on the front of agriculture, India has given away few things. And when we say few segments, we talk about apples, we talk about nuts, which include blackberry, blueberry, and at all. So that is something that India has agreed upon, apples and nuts. But we have completely drawn a red line when it comes to GM crops, because GM crops is something that India will not approve of. India's domestic politics does not approve of. Also, if we agree to GM crops from United States, our FTAs that are in work, something which has been finalized, will be signed on 24th of July between India and United Kingdom. That will be in jeopardy. The talks between India and EU, where we are looking at an possible FTA by end of this year being signed in January next year, that will also go for a toss. So India is maintaining and very clearly saying that GM crops is something that we are not going to agree on. Dairy was another bone of contention. So the raw dairy has not been agreed upon. India has very clearly said that raw dairy is something we cannot reduce tariff on. But yes, when it comes to processed food, cheese, cottage cheese, or such other food, including milkmaid or others, that is something where we can give leeway.
So there are compromises on some, there are agreements on some, there is no agreements on some other issues as well, because India is among those very few countries that are still negotiating this trade deal with Washington, as President Trump has been ramping up the trade war with the threat of sharply higher tariffs from the 1st of August itself. Rishabh, thank you very much. We'll come back to you.